What is going down, everybody? Welcome to a live episode of Strong Style here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I'm excited to be back in the studio virtually with my man Aaron Turner down there in Orlando. Are you in your new place officially yet or not?
No.
Oh,
no,
geez,
still
right.
the
longest move ever, man.
You're telling me. Don't even tell me, man. Like I know all about it. But if you caught me at the top of the show just now, I was doing the Matt Jackson touchdown dance.
Oh.
If you watched Double or Nothing over the weekend, Matt Jackson doing the touchdown dance, the Alex Wright, as Tony Schiavone called it, which definitely means you need to have your ass kicked, as also Tony Schiavone said. It's a ridiculous dance. But yeah, I'm here. I'm not in the new place. There's two posters behind me stacked on top of each other. So yeah, definitely not in the new place yet. But
what is that? Was it the Ring or what is that one behind?
Oh no, that's
terrifying.
Actually it's the Evil Dead remake.
Oh right,
the most terrifying film you will ever see
with Jane Levy. Jane Levy's always extraordinary playlist. Yeah, I got a little nice. She responded to one of my tweets a couple of weeks ago. Made me feel nice for the day. It was really nice of her to respond. Anyway, because I've been a fan of her since Suburgatory. Anyways, we're getting into a lot of things today here. For those who don't know, I am the Outlaw John Rocha. That's what happens. I am the CEO of this damn channel, and you are on here watching us live. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna talk about some Double or Nothing results. We're gonna talk about the Hana Kimura situation and the tributes that were so I don't know, just incredibly moving. How they poured out of so many people from the professional wrestling business. It's so shocking to know that a 22-year-old had tentacles throughout the business and had already established herself to a degree in the purview of so many wrestlers that we already know that are incredibly established as well. We're also going to talk about the Chi-Town Rumble from 1989, Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat. We're going to revisit that match as our match of the week, and we'll also preview some Dark Side of the Ring Season 3 possibilities that might be coming down, or if that season is even happening, we're going to talk about all that as well. But first, Aaron, what do we got? What are we jumping into first, man?
Let's go ahead and talk about the Mauro Ranallo comments. Let's start there. Let's start on a more somber note, and then we can get into the bigger
and then
stuff.
Pick it up as we go along. All right.
Yeah. So Mauro Ranallo had some comments this week about the unfortunate passing of Hana Kimura. If you guys haven't heard, she was a star in Stardom, and she unfortunately lost her life. She committed suicide over the weekend.
Yeah.
As reported from some really just terrible internet bullying and stuff that was going on in her life. And Mauro Ranallo is a guy that has dealt with bipolar depression his entire life. Is probably the perfect person to speak about mental health issues. Excuse me. And had some kind words to say and offer some insight. I don't really know where to start here because I didn't know who she was before all this happened. But I will say that I find this to be not exactly a wrestling story. Not really. It's not to me a wrestling issue at this particular second, because it was a lot of bullying from a show that she was doing called Terrace House.
Yes.
But it has since been canceled. That whole season that she's on has been canceled.
Yep.
So I don't know how it's really awful. And as I was digging into it, I found out, and I swear I was doing the research on this. Is how I found out. But there's been a lot of deaths in this way from cyberbullying in the adult film industry as well.
Wow, really?
A lot of
really?
3 or 4 star adult film stars in the past year or so have committed suicide over what people thought was internet bullying and things like that. So it's running rampant here, and I wish I had some kind of insight to give. I really don't at this point in time. I can only tell you of my own mental health struggles and stuff like that, and going through treatment. But it's very sad. That's all I can really say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is a interesting thing to consider because she was 22. She was establishing herself. A number of wrestlers commented on Twitter already after her passing and were incredibly upset at the fandom. It certainly touched a nerve that has been happening in multiple theaters of media, I would say, film, television, whatever you do, modeling, whatever you buy, porn star, whatever you do, professional wrestling, it's all subject to the purview of the fans. It's all subject to the reaction of the fans, right? So if the fans react in a certain way that builds you up and gets you into positions where you're at the top of the order, but sometimes you're doing things and fans will come after you in such I don't know, violent ways, aggressive ways on social media. And when you're 22, 21, 20 years old, that's a lot to take on. I don't care how conditioned you might be or how experienced or seasoned you might be as a human being. That is a lot to take on. And clearly there were issues that she had, which came out a little bit later after she had passed, that she had been struggling with already. So this kind of accentuated it even more. And there are a couple of shots of her sitting in the ring, and you can tell that there's a kind of an overwhelming sadness to the face that is there. So clearly there must have been other stuff rumbling below. And as all of us know, it's not the cyberbullying that is the sole reason for the mental health stuff. It is already something that you are inclined towards, and things expose it, things bring it out. And if you don't have the tools with which to write out those moments, it can lead to unfortunate deaths of suicide, by suicide. And this seems to have been something along the lines here as well, unfortunately, and Mauro Ranallo, who had done that documentary and spoke about his own stuff, during the Io Shirai match on NXT during the match. He said, speaking of social media, cyberbullying is never justified. Let's be better as members of the human race. Rest in power, Joshi Paruso star Hana Kimura. So certainly there was a dedication there. And as you said, they canceled Terrace House, but so many people came out with their own statements about it. I think our own friend Jen Decker, she certainly had some comments to say about the cyberbullying, because so many people, are subject to it in the world of professional wrestling.
Yeah, definitely. If there's one person that knows about bullying and all that kind of stuff, it's definitely Jen. Yeah, what she went through. But yeah, I mean, like you said, man, even Alexa Bliss was the victim of some cyberbullying this weekend from this guy, this podcaster that I've never heard of, but I guess is really prominent in some fan circles. He even went after Ryan Satin this week. Went really hard at Ryan this week, actually, and went hard at Alexa Bliss, saying that she was the company's favorite blonde, and that if nobody was sleeping with her, then she wouldn't be a top person and stuff like that. Just like just really stuff that's just like, wow, I don't even know why we need this in our lives, man. Like, I just I kind of try to follow the Kevin Smith philosophy of life, where he says, don't oh God, what does he say? Now I can't even remember it. He says, don't curse the darkness, light a candle. Yeah. That's a Kevin Smithism. And I really take that to heart. It's really easy to be a villain, and it's really hard to be a good person. I mean, look, anywhere in wrestling, the villain is the easiest role in the world to play, because all you have to do is go to a nice person and say, screw you. Now you're a villain. But it's hard to be a nice person and stay the nice person and do all that kind of stuff. But it's the right thing to do. And it's the thing that we should all do, because you never know how your words are going to affect somebody. Like, somebody that has 100,000 followers, and you send them a tweet not thinking that they'll read it or take it to heart, and you say, why don't you go kill yourself? Well, maybe that's the one tweet that pushes them over the edge to do something crazy like that. Right. It's just, and I said crazy. I didn't mean to say something like that. I apologize, but it's just one of those things that may just push someone over the edge to do it. So people's words do have weight, whether it's out loud or in text. And I just want us all to remember that as well.
Well, look, there's a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it. Unfortunately, what seems to be permeating the country and around the world over the last 10 years, and even really recently, the last 5 years, is this: let me be as offensive as possible. That used to cost you advertisers, listeners. I'm not talking about the Stearns and the Don Imus people. Those have been established for decades, right? And they took their hits when they first started out. But now that the platform with YouTube and all that is available for everybody to do whatever they want to do on it, these people, as a quick way to fame, they will appeal to the lowest common denominator of fans, the lowest common denominator of viewers, by saying outrageous comments. Because this guy, what's his name, JD something or whatever, we don't want to give him too much credit, but like, he was essentially comparing Alexa Bliss, saying her not just only like, oh, she might have stepped away to the top, also inferring, like, bringing up her sexual prowess between the sheets in comparison to her abilities in the ring. And it's like, why would that even occur to you? But of course, he's doing it for sensationalism. He's doing it to get attention, right? Because there's a phantom number of people, and it could be in the millions, judging by how many toxic podcasts and toxic hosts there are in talking about everything from film to TV to politics to professional wrestling that get a following by appealing to the lowest common denominator point of view, the grossest things you can say, the most offensive things you can say. And looking at him, the fucker hasn't seen a gym in his life. And here's Alexa Bliss, hours upon hours working out, figuring out how to do well. She's a fitness person, wanting to improve her skills. Whatever you feel about her overall product, you can't deny the work ethic here to achieve what she wants to achieve. And so I just find that unfortunate that someone like this gets to have a mouthpiece and go after people, and that there's enough of a base behind him to support him doing this towards someone like Alexa Bliss, who's, she's talked about her own issues with body shaming, her own issues with coming back from injury, or questions about whether she should still keep doing this. So, she's had her own battles all the time. So it's just, these guys don't give a shit. They see you as someone who's just someone they can use to boost up their profile, to get followers, to get listeners, because they don't see them as human beings anymore. And that's an unfortunate truth, and they know that Alexa Bliss or boyfriend, or maybe some of her friends who know her, won't show up at his house and pull his arms off and beat him to death with it, because they'd go to jail for it. So they know there's no real punishment or consequence for saying the things they're saying, because for everyone that blocks them, there's like 5,000 people or 100 people behind them who will now tune in and follow them. So there's no real consequence to what they're doing. And that's the real problem. And I don't mean physical consequence. I mean, they're not losing followers, not getting kicked off YouTube. They're not getting kicked off Twitter. Those are the things that need to happen, in my opinion, with situations like this.
Yeah, if anything, they're gaining followers, which is like this weird conundrum that I don't understand. Like we're gonna go here, but like the Tommy Lahrens of the world, and like people that follow Donald Trump's Twitter page, like I don't follow it, so, and I muted it and muted all the words. I just don't want to hear it at all. Yeah. And I'm just so weirded out. I don't understand how people follow this Twitter and get so mad about it and retweet it. I'm like, you're spreading it. Don't spread it. No, unfollow it, block it, do whatever you have to do. But it's just one of those things where you look at somebody like Alexa Bliss and Zelina Vega this week as well, another person that was the victim of some bullying. And it's just what in the hell is going on? Have we lost the couth? Have we lost our scruples here? I don't think to do.
Yeah, I don't think we have. I think there are people who are tapping into this anger. People feel that they haven't accomplished anything in their lives, and they're watching these people on television and movies and wrestling or wherever, and they're saying, why is that person successful? Why am I not? Why didn't I get there? How come I'm not there? They don't deserve to be there. I personally don't think they're great, so they shouldn't be there. So it feeds into the thing, because I think all those people who do this shit have real psychological issues themselves, and you can go and explore them. If you were to sit them down and actually kind of bore into their defenses and break through and see the crying little child who was beat up at 4 years old, that's what you would find behind this kind of vitriolic behavior. Because most of the time, when they're confronted, their balls shrivel up and fall and crawl right down the back of their legs. That's the thing about these people. They boost this kind of lunacy, but then when they're confronted, they absolutely shirk away from you. So it's a matter of frustration. I think they feel that there's such a division, and they subconsciously don't understand there's such a division between the haves and have-nots in this country, that the have-nots go onto YouTube and they yell at the haves without any real reason to, without any real impetus to do it, other than to tear someone down so they can somewhat feel like they have some kind of value, and it's a cheap way in. It's such a cheap way in, man. Honestly,
it's a sad it's a sad state of affairs. I know that people there's some people that probably wait their whole Twitter life to just get, I got a like from Britney Spears. Woohoo. I know that I was pretty stoked when Ice-T liked and retweeted one of my tweets. I love Ice-T, so I was pretty excited about that. I felt pretty validated. But I don't live my life by that. So I think a lot of people do. It's just
it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And we had a super chat that came in. And guys, by the way, guys and gals, whoever was watching here, we do have the super chats open. We do have the Streamlabs open. You see the Streamlabs right above Aaron Turner's head. That's the address right there. Go and send some stuff in. ask us what you want to ask us, or send it through the super chat. And I see a lot of your comments here. I like this. Tommy Tom said, it's definitely a toxic environment. I follow JD, and he's definitely old school mentality and different when you meet in person. Apologized on his show. Exactly. Unfortunately, sensational content sells, which should change. Right. That's the thing. You saw him. He's a different guy in person, right? But he gets caught up in the moment, keeps going with this thing. They put it out and they get attention for themselves. And then later he can apologize, but he never takes the episode down. He never takes the comments down. Right. So that's the thing. And does he contribute the money that he receives from this content to a organization against cyberbullying, against bullying online? Like that's the way you show real real regret for what you've said or done, is taking some action to counter it. What were you saying? Sorry, Aaron.
I said, I mean, you get too many views. Why would you take it down? It's
exactly.
Like that. Okay, remember, like maybe I think it's like a few years ago, that Logan Paul video where he took a video in the suicide forest.
Yeah.
And he had the apology video. Well, okay. Well, the apology video, which of course you should apologize, is the one that gets all the views, and it's just like, it's just a fucking toxic circle, and I hate that kind of crap. But
it's unfortunate.
Anyway,
Tommy Thompson, the other one, he said, feels like social media and wrestling have that issue. If we can't separate character and realism, content creators need to learn this as well. Be better. Yeah, and that's what Mauro Ranallo is basically trying to say. Like, if the only way you can get views and you can get listeners rather for your content is to be as vitriolic and evil as possible, then who the hell are you? Like, honestly, who the hell are you? Because you took the cheap way in instead of like actually being able to analyze these matches and have people watch you for your analysis, for your knowledge, for your intelligence. Instead, people are watching you to see when the next crazy thing you're going to say is. And unfortunately, that's the sad truth of it right now, you know?
And just for the record, Mauro Ranallo did get to meet him one time. Very nice guy. So there you go.
Okay, there you go.
Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. So just an unfortunate situation with Hana Kimura, and maybe hopefully, I mean, like these, we're seeing people younger and younger all the time, Aaron. You know, be cyberbullied into these suicidal situations, like 12 years old, 10 years old. You know, we see young gay kids as well. So it's just like this is all got to stop at some point. And eventually, social media will, start creating these barriers where you can't access it, at certain ages or certain times. So who knows down the road when that will actually come into motion. We shall see. Anyway. All right. So, our hearts and prayers to Hana Kimura's family and to friends as well who knew her and are suffering with her loss. We send our heartfelt prayers out to them and thoughts of comfort as well. But let's move on to our next story here. Aaron, what do we got?
Let's talk about Dark Side of the Ring possibly not coming back.
Yeah,
that's a story that you put up in our notes there, and I went through it, and it said that they were talking about how they barely got this season going before the coronavirus hit, and then they luckily finished it just in time to get all the episodes out. But the thing about Dark Side of the Ring is, especially the Owen Hart episode, which was the season finale, highest rated episode in Vice TV history.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Dark Side of the Ring ain't going nowhere, man. How do you not renew your top show? Like, I don't understand how that works. It's like, that's like going to the network and not like, it's Seinfeld season 3. Yeah, we're not going to renew Seinfeld. Like, that's insane. Like, why would you not do that? Like, no, we're not going to renew Game of Thrones. I'm not saying it's that quality, but I'm just saying, like, it's the top rated show on your network.
Yeah.
Which is a hard network to get to anyway. It's it's not available everywhere. Like, it's not exactly in your basic cable package. So I mean, to do something like that's I think it's pretty remarkable that Dark Side of the Ring has done that.
Yeah, and I think when it comes down to, and he says this in this quote, what's his name? Husney, I forget his first name.
Evan.
I know it's Kevin Husney. He says the third season is something everybody involved wants us to do. Vice wants to make a season 3. We would love to see it happen, and we're in those stages of conversation right now. There are just a lot of question marks about the future of production and even the future of the world. Our show deals with a lot of travel, and we'd love to go international to places like Japan in season 3, but there is a lot of uncertainty in terms of that. I can say that all parties want to see this happen, and there's no shortage of stories for us to cover. We've put a lot of thought into it already. We're getting ideas from people every minute on social media, which is awesome. And then encouraged people to send in their ideas on social media. So yes, I agree with you, Aaron. This is going to happen, but you can't ignore the fact that the coronavirus and the COVID shutdowns have affected a lot of companies financially. I don't know what Vice's situation is financially. And although you'd like it to come back, maybe it can only come back with a with a smaller staff and smaller budgets. So maybe they can't afford those cosplayers that you see out of focus behind some of the stuff, which is an essential element of the show, in my opinion. So we might lose that, but I think that's what they're looking at, or maybe reducing the number of episodes, which is already only at 10. By the way, I was super upset there wasn't a new one. I was like super upset. I had set aside my time, sat down, and was like, wait, what? Yeah. And there wasn't another one. So I just rewatched the Owen Hart one again because screw it. and I just needed to watch it because I love that show. So now we're in a situation where, okay, what do we do here? So I think it's legitimate concerns to have. It's just, do you think they'll eventually work this thing out?
Yeah, I mean, of course, no one knows what's going to happen in the entertainment industry right now. It's all up in arms. Like, there's a lot of movie theaters that aren't even open yet, and if they are, I don't know what they're showing. Scoob,
yeah, right.
I mean, I don't know what they're doing, but The Invisible Man for the 50,000th time. But it's just great movie, by the way. But it's just, just one of those things you got to work out. But as far as season 3, I think there are, like they said, there's many topics you could pull from. I'd like to see the story of Mike Awesome and how his unfortunate passing. I'd like to see that in there. Going international, that could be something cool because you're going to get stories that a lot of people here in the States don't know about unless you're one of those deep tape traders. I think that stories like the New Jack one from this year, which was excellent. Yeah, one of my favorite ones. I really enjoyed that. I'd like to see more in-depth profiles from people that maybe are either unsung heroes or just, I wouldn't call New Jack a hero, but like unsung wrestlers in the ring, stuff like that. I would really love to see them tackle the story of Nails, the guy that allegedly choked Vince McMahon. Like, I would like to see like that, or Ludwig Borga, his story and how that happened. I would love to see them talk about like Jake the Snake Roberts, though he's still with us. I mean, he had some very dark issues. I'd like to see them cover that. I'd like to see him cover some more WCW stuff. So, I mean, the fruit is ripe for the picking, and there's no shortage of what stuff they can talk about. It's the highest rated. They had the highest rated episode in the history of Vice. It's coming back, in my opinion. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah. Well, it's a good question. Like, what would they cover? And, I remember a few weeks ago, Brett Gilmore said, do we need to have this show on the air? And it's like, well, yeah, we do. So. And so because you want to, I get where his point was for him. It was like, oh, it affects the business in a negative manner. Welcome to the world, man. Some of those 30 for 30s, if you're watching that Lance documentary, that guy's a dick. And you're just watching that show and you're like, this guy's a dick. And he's like, well, but they're still showing it. And that's the positive. You're still getting a chance to watch these people. And I think the same thing with Dark Side of the Ring is profiling people whose story. And look, I know they're profiling some of the negative stuff around it, but they're at least showing what happened to some people who didn't know what had occurred, or didn't know these wrestlers from years past. They can go and explore them on the WWE site or maybe on YouTube or Daily Motion, going past and watch some of their old matches and get back in touch with the history of wrestling as well. So it isn't just about exposing the underbelly in some indirect way. It also causes fans to go and explore these wrestlers and get to know more about them from the past, And this year did we have any female centric shows this year that I'm not missing? Because last year it was Moolah and then you had Elizabeth with Randy, but is there anything that was female based this year?
No, not really. I mean, except for the Nancy Snuka. The Snuka one with Nancy Argentino and then Nancy Benoit as well. Just hearing their sides of the stories was good. Right. It was not centered around them. No, Sensational Sherry's an episode you could do as well.
I think so too.
And her death. I think that would be an excellent episode to get more people to know about, not just Sherry as the manager, but Sherry the wrestler as well. I think would be really cool, and I'm sure they have plenty of people to talk to as well. Yeah,
agreed. Loved Sensational Sherry. All right, what do we got next, man?
Let's go ahead and talk about Double or Nothing, man. Let's talk about AEW. Elite Wrestling had a pay-per-view over the weekend, which you could have paid $50 for if you wanted to. I did ? But we can talk about the highlights of Double or Nothing. I actually thought it was a pretty good show. Jim Ross called what do they call it? The Stadium Stampede, called it the greatest wrestling match of all time, which made me think JR might have been a little drunk to think
or old,
or senile or blind. One of the five there. But you had some really good matches. MJF versus Jungle Boy was all over the place. Really good, solid matchup. Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose was also very good. Good to see Shida become the women's champion there. Like that a lot. The casino ladder match, which I kind of called. I feel like that Brian Cage was going to be your mystery guy.
You did call it
in the casino ladder match, and he won the damn thing. So Brian Cage now aligned with Taz, which is a little weird, but I'll take it because Taz is a good talker and Brian Cage is not. Right. So I'll take that all day. John Moxley defeated Brody Lee in a pretty competitive match. I think there was more stuff those guys could have done. It kind of left me a little bit cold. And then Cody defeated Lance Archer to become the TNT champion. I got nothing bad to say about Cody. Right. And then in the main event, the Stadium Stampede, the Elite beat the Inner Circle in one of the weirdest, wildest matches that you'll ever see. Just all across the board, a lot of craziness and zaniness from All Elite Wrestling, but some good stuff in there as well. Did you get to check this out or anything?
I did. I found myself strangely enjoying this. And I didn't feel any of the matches were necessarily boring, and I think that's kind of the bar you have to cross with a pay-per-view is make sure each of those matches are entertaining. And I felt I was entertained through pretty much the entire show, even not having known every single one of the storylines for the show, for the wrestlers going in. So, getting those packages. Okay. I get it. Okay. I'm good. I know who I'm supposed to be cheering for. Let's see what happens here. I know there was a lot of flack afterwards, obviously, with Cody winning the TNT championship. A lot of people giving him crap, comparing him to like Ric Flair, comparing him to other people who booked the Nash. Nash was the main comparison people were throwing out there, booking yourself as the champion, that kind of stuff. And I get it, but it's Cody, and Cody built this whole thing together. He wants to throw himself a title every once in a while. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I thought Dustin Rhodes' match was really good as well. I enjoyed him in that match overall. And the two ladies' matches were good, or the ladies' match was good. I really enjoyed that one as well. But the Mike Tyson thing was done well, even though, someone caught him sleep or yawning.
It was great. That was great.
I mean, he's 51 years old, ladies and gentlemen.
Great
you know what? Sometimes late at night you yawn. You're 51 years old. What can I tell you? It's just the way it goes. So seeing him be a part of it was great. And then later on this week when he was on Dynamite, Mike, listen, seriously, I love you, man, but someone's got to teach you how to rip off a shirt. Maybe you need to call Hogan, man, and help you out, because that was brutal to watch. A simple act of ripping a shirt that caused you that much trouble. It does not bode well, to be honest with you. But I liked him and Jericho going at it as an extension of Double or Nothing as well during Dynamite. So overall, I think it was a fantastic thing for them. And from what I'm reading here on Forbes, it was the highest rated or highest. It was a record buy for Double or Nothing. Yeah, was it? Let me see here if I've got it right. Because they were talking about how it didn't do so well. Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer noted streaming numbers for BR Live and Fight were up 10%, suggesting Double or Nothing likely did 115,000 to 120,000 buys. And that was, that was compared to where they had their lowest numbers in history, in their short history, on May 13th with their AEW Dynamite that drew only 654,000 viewers. So they're in a weird position because I think the TV product is better than Raw or SmackDown, to be honest with you. And I thought their pay-per-view was great. So I don't know what the disconnect is here. Are fans just being overwhelmed with the WWE stuff, so they're not giving AEW a chance? I don't know what the situation is here, because WWE keeps winning the ratings wars against Dynamite.
Well, Raw and SmackDown are always going to win against Dynamite. That's just how it's going to have to. That's just how it is. They're established brands that have been around for 20 plus years. Dynamite's a new brand. Dynamite's main competition is NXT. And they've pretty much beaten NXT every week with the exception of a handful. Across Wednesday night, you can take that for whatever you want. Sure. Put that in whatever context you want. If that means anything, it doesn't mean shit to me. Ratings don't mean shit to me. I just watch wrestling. I don't care. But as far as I did not mention the Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford match. I do want to say Chris Statlander is whatever the female version of stud is. She's that. she's great, and she really showed it in this match. And Penelope Ford just continues to improve and improve. Mm-hmm. And she's she's come a long way since I first saw her a couple of years ago in the Indies to what she can do now. It's really impressive. Yeah. So I definitely want to give her due. And as far as Dynamite, I did watch the follow-up Dynamite as well. And I got to tell you, man, people giving Cody crap for winning the TNT title, I don't get it. The TNT title, to me, is the equivalent of the old Intercontinental Championship in WWF. It is the worker's title. Mm-hmm. And who's the best worker that they have in the company? Cody Rhodes. Yeah. So why would the best worker in the company not have the working title? It doesn't make sense. That's the worker's belt. And he also cut a great promo, very short promo, because he's going to do open challenges for the TNT Championship, not unlike John Cena used to do with the US title. Good way to get young talent over. Jungle Boy, I believe, is his first competitor on a larger scale, but he's going to do the week-to-week thing. Mm-hmm. And he said, you could have all the talent in the world and you can shove it right up your ass because it doesn't matter. Once you get in that ring, it's all about – Cody said, I will outwork you, I will outrun you, I will outdog you, I will never quit. And I just thought that was awesome. Like, all the talent in the world, you can shove it right up your ass. It's probably the best thing I've ever heard from Cody Rhodes. But it looks like I do want to also mention that Brian Cage did from winning the Casino ladder match will get his shot right away at Fyter Fest against not Kenny Omega. He'll get his shot against Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship very quickly. So they're really pushing Brian Cage here to be top guy, right in the top feud. I mean, of course, he looks like it. He's Weapon X. He's the Machine. He's all these things. Yeah. Do you think it's too soon to push Brian Cage to the top?
Let's break it down and be real here. Clearly they don't think the champions that they have now are bringing in viewers. So they think someone like Brian Cage maybe comes in, gives Moxley a good match. Maybe he doesn't win it the first time. So you got yourselves a rematch down the road here, but I don't know. Yes. Do I, in an objective world, do I think it's too quickly? Hell yes, because I think it spits on the other workers that have been fighting to get into a position by delivering good matches to be considered for the belt. So the fact that Brian Cage gets to walk in off the street, and by off the street I mean he hasn't been in this promotion before, and get a title shot automatically after one match seems way out of bounds for professional. That would never ever happen in WWE. Don't give me Cain Velasquez, because Cain Velasquez wasn't going to fight Lesnar for the belt. He was just going to fight Lesnar, And so in this situation is just like, well, this seems to scream. And as I just mentioned earlier, the idea of the low numbers for AEW Dynamite, maybe this is a reaction to them. And they think, well, bringing in Brian Cage was like a reputation amongst the indie scenes and I'm sorry, the indie fans and wrestling fans in general. Maybe this will generate some revenue, generate some views and what have you. Because, I mean, I've always felt this way, and this is no offense to Jon Moxley. It's no offense to Dean Ambrose. I just have never felt that he can carry a company. Just have never felt that 100%. I don't think he's got that energy necessarily. He can be one of your top guys. He's your Randy Savage, but you don't put the top belt on Randy Savage and think he can carry your company, because he can't. He's not a Hogan. And I just think, and I don't like Cena, but a Cena, you have to acquiesce and say Cena was another guy, or Flair. He's not one of those guys. And that's what people look for when they want someone to have the top belt to lead the company, So maybe, and I'm not saying Gage is that answer either, but maybe they just want to bring him in and have something brewing between these guys that could lead to better views or more views. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm looking at the chat here, and Dean GMC has a question. I think he's asking you. He said, okay, but who would you have Mox fight at Fyter Fest then?
Yeah, it's a great question. Mike Tyson. I don't know. Who Mike Tyson? Have him fight Cody. Have him fight Cody. Title versus title type.
Cody can't challenge for the title due to other circumstances. But if you were going to have anybody, if you could build a feud, if it wasn't Brian Cage, which I'm fine with, if you're going to push Brian Cage in there, if you want to, might as well go ahead and do it. But I would probably stick MJF in there, or maybe
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, maybe it's too soon. Maybe they don't want to give MJF a big L. Yeah. Or if they want to really see what Jon Moxley has, I mean, put him in there with Luchasaurus or somebody like that. A big guy like Brody Lee. Just keep feeding him giants, maybe. I'm not sure, but Brian Cage is the choice for now, so that's all we can really go with.
Yeah, I think this speaks to, Cody can bring in good people, bring in his friends, bring in that, but you got to bring in people who put butts in seats. seats. And I don't know if they necessarily up and down the roster have a good collection of people that can put butts in seats. And you can't compare it to WWE because WWE's already been established for numerous decades. It's a different situation, and even back then when WWE was being established, they weren't always getting the right guys that could put butts in seats. Do you know what I'm saying? So you got to figure out who your top dudes are, or top ladies are too, and kind of put them in positions to keep succeeding and doing their thing. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I think that's the thing they're struggling with now. They started out really well, and like I said way back when on the show with Ryan, I said, yeah, this is great start, but the thing is, it's about maintaining that start and increasing or adding on top of that start but more views and more interest and generating all this kind of stuff. So right now they're not doing it, in my opinion. DGMC sent in a question here on Super Chat. It said, Rocha, as a sports guy, are you surprised by the lack of coverage Stadium Stampede got? AEW didn't really get attention until this past Wednesday with Tyson. Yeah, I'm not surprised because once again, it's a smaller promotion in a lot of the mainstream sports websites or sports channels' eyes. It's not WWE. Like Sports Center literally covers WWE pay-per-views. Sports Center, which implies sports, which implies I don't know the outcome when I watch it. So this is Sports Center, and they cover the WWE. So does ESPN.com. But the AEW doesn't have that same kind of connection. And to be honest with you, Bleacher Report Live, that's not a big streaming service to go and watch pay-per-views on. So it's just kind of working against AEW right now. And Tyson is still somewhat of a bankable name. And the fact that he's talking about coming back to fight, that's why they covered it. What do you think, Aaron?
Well, I mean, WWE has a little side game here with ESPN, so it doesn't surprise me that somebody like that didn't really talk about it very much.
Right.
And it was just a cameo. It's not like he went in and punched somebody in the face. Now, if he had done something like that,
right,
that would have been a little bit different. That would have been cool to see. But just having Mike Tyson there and yawning in the crowd probably wasn't really enough.
Right.
And then on Dynamite, having him out there with Rashad Evans and Henry Cejudo and whoever else was out there with him is just kind of like, okay, this feels very Stone Cold 1998.
Yes.
I feel like we've already done this. I mean, I love Chris Jericho, but I feel like now we're doing this with a gray Mike Tyson, and we're not doing this with the Mike Tyson that can actually probably kill you. I'm sure he could right now anyway, but I'm just saying, like, a younger Mike Tyson in his prime as opposed to a gray, bald Mike Tyson.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Aaron, it's so funny you say that. I had the exact same thought as I was watching it. I'm like, this feels like DX. They're repeating DX. And this is like, and if I could make a quick comparison is, for those of you who may know, like soccer, MLS, right? When MLS first started here, which is Major League Soccer League in America, when they started to actually start bringing talents over from overseas, the name talents were 5 to 10 years past their prime. So it was just to bring in name talent because they knew the name talent could do well against the level of the American player at that time in MLS. So they came over and they were getting their business. And the same thing is happening here is you're trying to rehash stuff that was great 20 years ago. They were trying to rehash careers in the soccer world that were great 5 to 10 years ago. Yeah. So it's like it doesn't have the same weight or the effect as you think. And yeah, I agree with you, man. A gray 51-year-old Mike Tyson, and he looks scary in those training workouts, no doubt. It just doesn't have the same value because he's not still legitimately doing it in that ring as a boxer. So it doesn't have the same weight.
And also, I mean, you got to think like the viewer of AEW Dynamite is 18 to 35 and that kind of demographic, maybe younger, maybe older. I'm not sure what the demographics are. Sure. But a lot of people don't even remember Mike Tyson as a boxer. Yeah. They remember him from the Hangover movies. They remember him as an actor. Hey, he's that funny guy that's on Cartoon Network, Adult Swim late at night, has his own cartoon about pigeons.
Right.
Like, it's just a lot of people don't remember Mike Tyson as a heavyweight killer boxer. They don't remember that. He's also a convicted rapist, but a lot of people tend to gloss over that fact. But I'm just saying, a lot of people may not even remember Mike Tyson in the sense of the demographic that they're going for.
Yeah, true.
It's very interesting. And if they do remember, like you and I remember this, we've already seen this angle before and we really don't care.
Right. Exactly. We've already seen it already. I mean, I liked that, the thing with Tyson that's interesting, Aaron, when you're watching is you don't know if he's going to stay on script. And I feel like, and he's not used to sitting out there and just like, jibber jabbing and whatever. Like Jericho was having to save that promo more than once because Tyson kept talking over him, and Jericho's doing his best playing it off, and then finally, all hell breaks loose, and I like that all hell breaking loose, and Tyson trying to run down the ramp again. I thought that it reminded me a lot of Clubber Lang in that moment. He's like being held after the first round in the Rocky rematch. Like, it was cool. I liked it, but overall, I just felt like Tyson struggling with the shirt and then talking over Jericho. These guys who don't do it for a living don't understand. You got to let those moments breathe back and forth. That leads to a great promo and a memorable scene. But this didn't quite get there overall. I don't know. Maybe.
I do want to mention one thing that Haskell said this in the comments, and I totally agree with him. And it was a point I meant to make about Double or Nothing.
Sure.
My biggest problem with AEW is sometimes I feel like they just do moves for move's sake. Like, okay, we're going to do a move now, and then I'm not going to pin you, so I'm not going to go for the win. And it's just like, what the hell? Like, why are we doing moves for the hell of it? Like, especially in the casino ladder match, you had people just jumping off. Like, okay, I'm going to climb on the ladder. Now I'm just going to jump off of it. I'm not going to try to get, the briefcase of the contract. Yeah. I'm just going to jump on you. And then during that Stadium Stampede, Matt Jackson did the Northern Light suplex for 100 yards on Sammy Guevara, which was pretty funny. And then he didn't even try to pin him.
Yeah.
So it was like, why? What was the point? Like, we're just doing it for the hell of it?
I think I'm sorry. Go ahead, Aaron. Sorry.
But at the same time, Hangman Page on a friggin' horse was amazing.
Yeah.
But true. That's all. That's the only point I wanted to make.
Well, no, it's a good point. And because, it feels like they're trying to follow the NJPW model without understanding why those moves are in the course of a match like that, And so you're getting those crazy moves, but like you said, you're not getting the logical next moment, which is the pin, because that's wrestling mentality. You land the massive move, then you try to go for the pin, and they don't seem to be doing that in the same consistency. For them, there's like, let's wow the crowds and then just keep the match going. I don't know. You're right. Roger or Range or Donald one, he wants, so are they leading to a match between Tyson and Jericho? God, I hope not. Yeah, it's a fair question. Do you think that's what's happening?
No, I don't think they're going to lead to a match with Tyson and Jericho. If they do, I don't want to see that. But I think what you're probably going to get is Mike Tyson picking, Rashad Evans and Henry Cejudo, whoever, versus, Jericho and Jake Hager, because Jake Hager's in MMA and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it would be Jericho versus Tyson. It would have to be so heavily controlled. Yes. There has to be so much money on the line. Like, it wouldn't even be worth watching, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's why they didn't do Tyson versus Austin back in the day, because there's just too many loopholes they all had to jump through.
Right. Great point. And speaking of back in the day, Justin Tomer has a good question, a good comment here. Also, the reason Jericho's mad at Tyson is due to an angle that happened in WWE a decade ago. Crazy. LOL. Right. Exactly. As Aaron said, they're just rehashing shit from way back when on WWE, and it's not having the same kind of effect as they were hoping for. Yeah, you're getting eyes on your product because you got Mike Tyson trying to rip off his shirt, but it's temporary eyes as opposed to permanent eyes. And I don't know if it's going to necessarily yield to a positive result down the road. Whew. Yeah, right. Good stuff. I wouldn't. Would you trust Tyson in a wrestling ring? I just wouldn't. No, right?
And plus, there's too much money to lose for Mike Tyson. Say he wants to come back for that big money fight, which people are going to pay for.
Of course.
Mike Tyson gets in the ring with Chris Jericho, twists an ankle, twists a knee, tears an ACL. No one cares anymore. So I don't think Mike Tyson's going to be doing that.
This was my concern when Tyson Fury had that mini WWE run. I was really worried that he was going to, and he ended up becoming the champion of the world as a boxer. But I was afraid he was going to hurt himself or twist his knee. You just never know in wrestling, man.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all the news stuff for today. Let us know in the comments section below what you liked about Double or Nothing. If you're not watching us live, you're watching it later. And also, please hit the like button on this video. Getting the likes and the comments are really important for the algorithm of YouTube to help the Outlaw Nation channel and this specific show. So if you're watching us right after we recorded this live, please leave a comment. Leave as many comments. We're trying to get up to at least 20 to 30 comments every video. So it helps, like I said, get the eyes on this thing, and also give it a like as well, so we can get over 100 or 200 likes for these videos as we go along, because I know that over 200 of y'all are watching each of these videos. If you just kind of swing that cursor button, hit that thumbs up button, we would appreciate it. All right, what do we got? Is it time for Matt? There you go.
I have a hard time with the camera. I'm like, oh yeah, it's only half of me, like in this frame.
Is it time for our match of the week, Aaron? It
is time for our match of the week. Chi-Town Rumble 1989, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, right there on the old Yeti. And yeah, man,
Nice.
this is one of their classic matches. They had a real trilogy here in the 80s where it really put both men on the map. Not that Ric Flair needed it. He was already a top guy. Ricky Steamboat had already been well established in the mid card of the WWF, not quite to the top level. So it's just going to be a lot about Ricky Steamboat more than Ric Flair, because I could go on about Ric Flair for a whole episode. But let's start here. Let's talk about Ricky Steamboat and his departure from WWF here. Following the match between Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3, Ricky Steamboat wanted to take some time off. He had just won the Intercontinental Championship, but his son was also very young, and he wanted to take some time off, spend some time with the family. The company's like, "What the hell are you doing? You're the Intercontinental Champion. You can't really take time off." But he kind of did it anyway. So there was, Ricky Steamboat lost his Intercontinental title eventually to the Honky Tonk Man, the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. And the stage was set for WrestleMania 4. And on the bracket side, you had the Macho Man and Ricky Steamboat on the same side of the bracket. Yeah. So if both men won in the second round, you would have a rematch of last year's WrestleMania 3, one of the greatest matches of all time, bar none, that match. So everybody was really excited to see that. And then Ricky Steamboat loses to Greg the Hammer Valentine, and we don't get to see it. And shortly after that, Steamboat is gone. Yeah. So we got screwed out of a classic rematch, and Ricky Steamboat got the hell out of here. So then we're in January of 1989 when Steamboat would return to the NWA. He'd previously been there in the early 80s, and he would show up as a mystery partner of Ron Garvin and defeat Ric Flair and Barry Windham in a tag match by pinning Ric Flair, the World's Heavyweight Champion, and then after the match, challenging him to a match for that belt at Chi-Town Rumble 1989, which is where we pick up, and we're going to talk about this match and how we liked it or didn't like it. Rocha, I'll start with you, man. This has got to be a good one here, right?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the match, and before we get into the match, on my side of things, I watched the promos. This is on the network. It was nice to watch the promos. Clearly Ricky is not the best on the mic, and I think he would get absolutely destroyed nowadays if he was doing stuff on the mic, but Flair doing his thing. And who's his manager again? Matsuda? What's his name?
Some evil guy that I was like, who is this guy? Like, I've never even heard of this guy.
Neither had I, but
evil guy from the Orient. I was like, that doesn't play in 2020.
It doesn't, not anymore. But seeing him come in during I guess they were at some previous pay-per-view. I can't remember what it was, or previous big match. And Steamboat was destroying Flair, who had come in with the women and was trying to leave, and Steamboat kicked the crap out of him. And then Matsuda came in and just was delivering essentially the early version of strong style Japanese wrestling moves, which is the name, our namesake of the show, but delivering them like all over. And so I thought that was fun to watch. And I thought to myself, okay, this is going to lead to him interfering in some way in the match. And he doesn't at all, hardly at all.
You barely notice him.
Yeah, you barely notice until at the end when he's complaining to the referee that he should have been the one saying, counting the 1, 2, 3, not Teddy Long, a young Teddy Long jumping in. But overall, I really enjoyed this match because, when you watch the old matches, you're not sure of the rhythm, you're not sure of the pacing, if it still holds up from what your eyes are used to nowadays. But I think this does. These are master wrestlers in knowing how to play the crowd. I mean, Flair just is so good at being a heel. I mean, yelling at the crowd to shut up when he's trying to cheat to win. Yeah, all that kind of stuff that he does. Them spilling out onto the outside of the ring as well. There were some strong moves, and Flair surviving multiple pins, and then of course controversy ensues at the end. But overall, I thought this was a damn enjoyable match. It was nice to see the swings in the match move so quickly throughout and believably throughout as you were watching it. And the athletic skill of both men, to be honest with you, was great to watch.
I gotta tell you, man, like, as critical as I've been of Jim Ross, and I think that he was really bad at Double or Nothing. I thought he was really awful on the commentary. And I know a lot of people will defend JR, but I can't anymore. I just can't. I think he's really bad. Yeah. But then I watched this Chi-Town Rumble. This is a younger JR, obviously. This is 89. And oh my goodness, man. He's so good, man. He called the hell out of this match. Like, I was really into it. It's JR and Magnum TA are on the call, if you guys know. Sure.
That's a friggin' dark side of the ring, Magnum TA.
Magnum TA, absolutely, yeah. And Ric Flair coming in and do it. The thing, Ric Flair doing the Flair flop is something that we've seen a million times. Ric Flair gets thrown into the ropes, goes upside down, comes back down, falls flat on his face. Or Ric Flair gets thrown into the ropes, upside down, runs down the side of the ring, does a flip, but somebody comes and throws him off. Well, this time he actually hit the damn crossbody, and it threw me off. I was like, "Oh my god, I don't think I've ever seen him hit the crossbody. Like that's a Steamboat move." And it's just the little nuances of this match, just like we talk about these older matches, the Kurt Hennig and the Nick Bockwinkel's. Ricky Steamboat at one point hits Ric Flair, sends Ric Flair off the ropes, hits him with a double chop. And that could have been the finish, like the way that JR was calling it. Like, I believe that Ricky Steamboat could have won that match right then and there. Like, he's got it on him. Oh, no, the chop. Oh, my God, he's got him. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Classic Vince McMahon there. But, yeah, man, just the slow pace of this. And then when they hit a big move, like when Ricky Steamboat gets thrown to the outside with Flair, they both go over the rope at the same time. Like that felt like a big move. Like that was really, really important to the following of this match. Ric Flair hitting the figure 4, Ricky Steamboat catching him with a couple inside cradles where you're like, oh, I don't know. Even the backslide that Ricky Steamboat did was like, oh man, this is going to be real close here. But then it turns out Ricky Steamboat goes for a flying crossbody, knocks out referee Tommy Young. Ric Flair is down for like 20 minutes, and like, come on, man! Like somebody needs to get in there. And then while this all chaos is ensuing, Ricky Steamboat goes back to the top, hits another crossbody, and then Teddy Long just jumps over the dead body of referee Tommy Young and counts 1, 2, 3, and Ricky Steamboat is your winner. Yeah, and it's wild that we see something like that, because remember back to that Bockwinkel match, it also had like a weird finish with Larry Sabisco. Yeah. And this one also had a weird finish, like a dusty finish, if you will. That had to be settled later on. But it was cool to see Tommy Young in there, because he's one of the, like they said at the top of the JR said, he's like, Tommy Young's probably the best official in the NWA. And Tommy Young's a great official. And to see a young Teddy Long was pretty cool too. Yeah. It's just, man, it's just classic wrestling. If you like classic slow-paced wrestling, there's not a lot of high spots. I can't believe Ric Flair did a high spot, but he's also at the height of his powers. Yeah, you definitely got to check this one out. Classic Flair, classic Steamboat. It's one for the ages.
And it's not Steamboat from WrestleMania 3, who had more high-flying stuff, and maybe because he was essentially wrestling another high flyer to a degree in Savage. This is more of a ground-based Steamboat. Him and Flair chemistry it was a lot of it, as I said, ground-based, in the ring, moves, holds, everything staying off the top rope until it built up to it. So every once in a while you'd see either Flair or Steamboat go to the top rope and do their thing. But it wasn't like all over the place high flying. It's a lot more of the grappling, a lot more of the hard hits and the punches and the strong or the stiff shots and things like that throughout the whole match, and using the buckles and the flips and all of that. It works all the way through. In the beginning, he does the classic thing where Steamboat gets the best of him, and I love TA's like, every time the pace gets fast, Flair ends up on the wrong side of it. He jumps out. So, it was a great comment from TA there, seeing him. But you're right. Jim Ross was just exceptional throughout the match. Exceptional. And, for someone who knows when you're looking for shade to be thrown, I always pick up shade when I'm watching stuff. And Jim Ross, this is 89. Steamboat has left the WWF, which is what it was called then, and he's here at NWA, right? This is what this was. NWA, and he says, "We wrestle here," and that's basically the shot at WWE, And of course, it's ironic is that Flair is the one who's going to go to WWF in like 2 or 3 years' time.
JR 4 years later.
Right, exactly. Right. JR towing the company line at that point again, but for WWE, but that's the way it is, because he was probably told like, well, we got to be the upstart thing. We got to make fun of the WWF somehow. So say it that way. So I caught it 2 or 3 times when he said it throughout the match. I'm like, oh, I see what you're doing here. But yeah, you're totally right. Well called match. Fun to watch. Good swings. And excellent action leading to a controversial finish.
Yeah, I mean, not a long one either. 23 minutes, 25 minutes, somewhere in that area. So, I mean, it's an easy watch if you got something to do. If you didn't watch it beforehand, if you didn't do your homework like I ask you to do on a weekly basis, guys, this is an easy watch. Catch it anytime you can. Anytime you can catch a Flair Steamboat that's under an hour, probably a good bet to go for it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the aftermath. Steamboat would get a couple title defenses in before Ric Flair would take the title back from Ricky Steamboat at May at Wrestle War due to a contract dispute. Here we go again. Ricky Steamboat left WCW, as it was known at that time, before 1989, or NWA, WCW, blah, 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 at that time before it was up. So in 1990, Steamboat would have stints with NAWA, SAPW, go ahead and get all that in there, and NJPW before returning back to the WW. Everybody comes home, back to the WWF in 1991 under the moniker Just the Dragon. He would use the Dragon first, and then he would go eventually become Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And then allegedly, if you remember that gimmick, the fire breathing gimmick, which he actually learned how to breathe fire for that gimmick. So he was definitely dedicated to it.
Yikes.
But allegedly, Steamboat was to be defeated by a young kid named The Undertaker back in the day when he had the red hair and, of course, the gray slacks. But Steamboat said, I don't really feel like putting the young guy over. I don't want to do the job. So guess what? Steamboat is out again of the WWF. So now he's going to WCW. This is late 91, starting a feud with another young upstart. Gosh, I don't know what happened to him. His name was Stunning Steve Austin. During one of their matches, Steamboat suffered a serious back injury, which caused a premature retirement. In 1994, Steamboat received a FedEx from WCW President Eric Bischoff, promptly firing him.
Wow.
Which, great way to do it. Then Ricky Steamboat eventually, after his retirement, became a longtime road agent with the WWE and did come out of retirement for a 3-match feud with Chris Jericho in 2009.
He looked good.
Oh, God, yeah. For as old as he was, oh, my gosh, he's still flying around, still doing it. Yeah. And to go in there with a vet like Chris Jericho, you can do no wrong. Ricky Steamboat, for a guy that didn't have a very long career, he's not one of these guys that had like a 30, 40-year career, like a Flair, like a Hogan, like a, even a Savage.
Yeah.
He's quite well remembered from his run from 80, like let's say 80 to 94. Yeah. Ricky Steamboat is pretty well held in high regard with all wrestling fans, and that's pretty interesting to me, considering all the greats that were around at this time.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think the WrestleMania 3 match is really what helps to solidify him, even though he did not have, as you said, a consistently long career with one federation where you could just follow him, or two federations where he would spend a bunch of years one and a bunch of years in the other. I think it's more the promise, and he was such a great face, and he was such a good-looking guy. He seemed like a nice guy, genuinely humble guy when he fought. Clearly now here on the bio, he clearly knew his worth and what he was willing to do and not do. And he kept coming back to these federations, so clearly they wanted him too. So overall, you're right. He did a lot with a little in terms of the amount of time he was in those professional wrestling, and left an incredible legacy that people still talk about to this day. You mentioned anyone who ever knew who Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was or was a fan, you just mention his name and people get glassy-eyed and just start to remember how great of a face he was. Because to be honest with you, there aren't a lot of great faces. We remember a lot of the great heels. Hogan was a face, but like Rock was a heel, Austin was a heel, Bret Hart was a heel. There's so many of these guys that first started out being heels that eventually became faces. Razor, those things, like even Shawn when he was a face, but then turned heel in heels where he really made his bones, being his own man and joining DX eventually as well. So those things that you look at, well, he's the rare face. I think he maybe went heel once, but it never really took. He's just that rare face that you don't get that often in professional wrestling when you look back at the history of it, and you could enjoy thoroughly,
Yeah, Ricky Steamboat tried to go heel towards his WWF run, and they said, Ricky, please, your babyface, like I said, it's so hard. It's so easy to become a bad guy. It's so easy.
It is.
All you got to do is flip the bird. You're a bad guy. You're a bad guy. It's so hard to be a good guy. That's why John Cena gets so much crap his entire life.
Cena, absolutely.
His entire career, because he's been the good guy. And it's so easy for someone to say, well, he should just go back to being the Thugonomics. He should be the evil Cena. No, he shouldn't. Right. He should just be John Cena, because that's who John Cena is. And it fits him perfectly. A guy like CM Punk can do both. And he works. He has that duality about him, and he does a great job. Daniel Bryan, same way with that whole vegan stuff that he was doing. The Planet's Champion did a great job with that. Some guys are just better as baby faces, and they can work it that way. Ricky Steamboat is one of those guys. Ric Flair could be a bad guy or a good guy. You take him or leave him. Bray Wyatt, good guy, bad guy, doesn't matter. You still love him.
Yeah.
But it's so, it's so easy to do, and I think people get so mixed up when they. And can we talk Schmodown for just a second? I want to
sure. Let's do it.
Like
we're over the hour mark, but for Schmodown,
sorry guys.
No, please don't apologize.
I'm watching these promos, and like I feel like everybody in the Schmodown, when I watch it now, like when I see a highlight, when I see something, everybody's just a dick now, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, why is everybody so evil now? Like,
well, because they saw the John Rocha playbook. Okay, I'm being playful. Before people misunderstand it. Like they've been doing on these message boards.
Why is everybody so angry? Like, I don't understand. Like, just be a good guy. Like, it's, I don't know. It's so much easier to be a good guy. Like,
well, I think it's tougher and you take more hits, but I think it doesn't matter good or bad. You got to win the Schmodown. You got to win.
True.
It doesn't matter how great you are at cutting promos if you don't fucking win. And you could cut the greatest face promo in the history of the Schmodown, the greatest heel promo in the history of Schmodown. If you go into your next match and fall flat on your face, then who cares? It's not really a big deal. And so I think a lot of people think if they cut these heel promos, they'll get the attention they want for their brand. Certainly Brandon Hana doing a 7-minute red promo. He's the sniveling little kid that he is. He got himself attention that he wanted, and you will see how he does in the IG tournament, but it was what he wanted, that attention. And so now all the eyes are on him because people are actively cheering for him to lose now, and that can work in your benefit if you know how to handle it. But let me tell you, I did it for a year. It's not easy. Being a heel is not easy. The fans actively cheer for you to lose. I wasn't one of the young pretty boys that turned heel like Kalinowski or Guy, and the fans are charmed by them because of their abilities and their looks. I was just a regular dude, and I did it, and I did my best, and carried it. And it was not easy. But you look at someone like Hana, we'll see if he can handle it. A lot of people have turned heel in the Schmodown and have been unable to handle the pressure and the comments from the fans. And they go, why am I getting yelled at? Why am I getting cursed out? Why am I getting ridiculed? Because you're a heel. You should be proud that they're ridiculing you. You should be happy because that means it's working. You didn't see Alan Rickman go, why did they hate Hans Gruber? What's the problem? Why are they mad at Hans Gruber? And it's like, no, because he's a great fucking heel. So
the bastard.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'm reading the chat. I'm reading the chat. The chat's cracking me up. That's why I'm smiling. But like, Delzinski has a comment. Can I click on comments and they show up?
Oh no, which one is that?
Delzinski down there says Bray Wyatt is a born. I think he meant to say born heel. I disagree on him being a babyface. I take exception to that, sir. I would ask you one question. Do you think The Fiend is a heel? Absolutely not. Do you see how much merch The Fiend sells? The Fiend ain't no heel, man. The Fiend is well loved. Bray Wyatt is well loved in the internet community, well loved among fans.
Right.
He is a babyface now.
Yep.
Back in the day when he was a heel with the Wyatt family, yes, I will give you that. He's definitely a born heel, great talker, but The Fiend is by far a massive babyface. Sir.
Yeah. A great point here from Manny Gonzalez. Sting was primarily a face. You're right, man.
He was, and it worked.
Sting always stayed a face. Rarely, if he ever did go heel, it was always kind of like, is he confused about whose allegiance or whatever? It was never a full-on heel turn. Even when he was Dark Sting, he was never a full heel. Tito, another one. Yeah, Tito did go heel a couple of times, but never really took, but he was a great face for that time in the 80s as well. Great suggestions. And guys, please be responsible. Don't take the words I say here and go at people on the Reddit and, try to bash me on those. I'm so tired of making comments about the Schmodown playfully on my shows and people running to Reddit, completely misconstruing my comments and turning it around on me. I hate that shit because I'm just talking and having fun with one of my co-hosts on a show about the Schmodown, and people just kind of run off with it and try to get me taken off shows and whatever, just crying to the nines. It's so frustrating to me on so many levels. It's almost getting to the point where I won't even talk about Schmodown anymore on my shows, and I would hate for that to happen, to be honest with you.
Listen, guys, if there's anyone that has ever given John Rocha shit about the Schmodown, it's me. Okay, listen, I was the OG of giving people crap on
That's
the
right.
I was
right.
the
Oh
OG.
my God.
If there's anybody that knows about it, it's me. I will give anybody crap about the Schmodown because I can, and I've earned that right. You know, you can go to Reddit and say that I said it. I don't care. Nobody's going to know because I've been gone for so long. But I can tell you, as should be first ever Schmoedown Hall of Famer, listen to me. Yeah, I said it. I don't care.
Brother, we've walked down the road so far, I totally forgot that was one of our beginning spots. You're right. Yeah.
Damn right.
You know, for some reason, fans just like enjoy jumping into my shit. Some of them do. Not all of them. There's obviously I couldn't build the Outlaw Nation if I didn't have a strong fan base of people who believe and like the things that I do in the Schmoedown and outside the Schmoedown. But there are those ones who just come in and try to twist words and, you know, go on other people's discords and try to shit on me. And I don't get it. Like, you know, live a better life, you know, do something that you want to do. I'm trying to create my dreams and follow and succeed. Why don't you try doing that instead of spending time jumping up all in my shit, you know? I don't know. Just a suggestion.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway,
let's talk about next week. Let's talk about what we got.
Yeah, talk about next week and we'll wrap this thing up, my man.
So I dropped the slate for next month, the next couple of weeks that we got here going on. It's a hell of a slate, guys. If you haven't seen it, it's pinned to my Twitter at Only Aaron Turner. You can see it there. So next month we're going to be talking The Undertaker versus Mick Foley, or Mankind, if you will. Hell in a Cell. You already know what happens in that match. I don't have to tell you what happens in that match.
Yeah.
We're also going to be talking about one of my favorite matches of the past couple years, actually a couple recent matches in this one. We're going to be talking Sasha Banks versus Bayley from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn.
Yeah.
One of the greatest, if not the greatest, I'll put the stamp on it. It's the greatest women's match of all time. Mm-hmm. It is an excellent match for the NXT Women's Champion, that villainous bitch Sasha Banks versus the lovable Bayley. It's an excellent match. We're going to talk about that one very soon. Mm-hmm. AJ Styles putting the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship on the line against Shinsuke Nakamura for Wrestle Kingdom 10. That's going to be a New Japan match. We're so excited about that one. It's going to be great. And next week, also NXT TakeOver, the Revival now showed up in AEW as FTR versus Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa DIY in their classic confrontation. The Revival, the tag champs, going up against DIY. So that's what we'll be talking about next week. Hell of a match. Really excited to talk about that with everybody, as I am a big fan of all those guys and can't wait to get into it.
All that is great, Aaron, and everyone is looking forward. I'm sure they're all looking forward to us talking about these matches and the top stories in the week for professional wrestling. But they're also excited to find out when we're going to get some merch up in this piece, rather. Sorry, when are we going to get some merch here, Aaron? What's the update on that? Do you have anything to tell us for those of us who want to buy more merchandise?
Let me get moved first, and we'll talk about the merchandise. I swear it's coming. I swear. All right. We just got to get a system going. But yeah, give me some time. You know, we hit a snag on the old on the house right now, so we're kind of
okay.
You know, God, house buying sucks. That's all I can tell you, especially during a pandemic. But
sure.
Yeah, so let me get settled, and then we can talk strong style merchandise. We got t-shirts, we got the prototypes.
We do.
You and I talked about 8x10s, which we may just use as a giveaway. Yeah. The more viewers we get, the more stuff we're going to be able to do. I want to give away wrestling figures. I want to do the whole bit. I want to do all kinds of stuff. And my ultimate dream is to take this show on the road, man. Like, show up at, hey, there's a Schmoedown going on in town. Okay, well, Strong Style's there like 2 hours beforehand. Like, I would love to. Like
that'd be fun, actually.
It'd be great. So, I mean, that's the ultimate goal of this show, and I hope that everybody comes along with the ride. So, as long as you hit the like button, you subscribe, you share, we'll get there.
There you go. All right, well, tell them where they can find you, Aaron, as we wrap up here, my man.
At Only Aaron Turner on Twitter. We go look at the slate. We can talk about wrestling all you want. See you there.
There you go. And follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And please subscribe to the channel below if you haven't subscribed yet. And also give the video a like. Hit that thumbs up button on the side there. Give it some love. And leave a comment if you're watching us after we've recorded this live. Leave a comment below telling us what you think about the show, what you thought about some of those opinions, what your opinions are about some of the subjects we tackled here on the show as well. All right, that's it for us. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves. We all want to see you back on Monday morning, in the world. But enjoy your weekend. Do what you need to do to have a little fun in the world, because it's tough out there right now. So definitely find your way through it, and we'll be waiting for you on the other side. Take care until then. This has been another brand new episode of strong style. Yeah.